Streaming live. This is Tracking the Tropics.
Jerry, Imelda, Humberto, and two more waves. We're monitoring them all here live on Tracking the Tropics with a trio of Florida meteorologists evaluating the very latest models and the very latest data. Hey there, everybody. WFLA Now's JB Buno here with you live on stream for our Wednesday edition here of Tracking the Tropics, being joined by Storm Teammate meteorologist Ian Oliver and WMBB's Sam Lucy. But we are going to start here with Storm Teammate meteorologist Amanda Holly standing by at the weather wall with the very latest. Hey there, Amanda.
Hey there, JB. Yeah, we've been busy the past few days. 3 named storms watching 2 areas of potential development. Good news is those areas have a low chance of developing right now. But all eyes kind of on Tropical Storm Jerry here, sitting out in the central Atlantic. Got a little bit stronger as of the 11 a.m. advisory. 50-mile-per-hour winds. They're a little better organized on satellite as well. And we're expecting a little slower intensification over the next few days because of a couple different factors. It's got some dry air around it, some shears going to limit that intensification as well. But overall, the forecast as it stands is it is going to make its way a little closer to the northern Leeward Islands there, north of the Caribbean islands, and then kind of recurve out to sea before reaching the Bahamas. Good news there, and we should expect another recurve as well. But again, only slow intensification here. You can see the track only includes the Category 1 hurricane there. We could see a little bit of a fluctuation in intensity of that forecast over the coming days, but overall, not expecting a lot in terms of the United States with this storm. If you're in the Caribbean islands, it's a different story. You should definitely continue to watch this storm. But the general consensus is the storm will continue to move to the northwest over the next 3 days or so, then start that northerly turn and then recurve out to sea, which is exactly what Humberto is doing at this time. But moving over to Tropical Depression Imelda, which formed yesterday briefly there just before it moved onshore. This storm, as it always was, is a rainmaker. And we are talking about a lot of rain here, kind of a slow mover at this point, only moving north at 6 miles per hour. Maximum sustained winds there 35 miles per hour. So definitely still gusty under this, but definitely a rainmaker with National Hurricane Center saying up to 20 to 25 inches locally here, just in localized amounts, so very small areas. But we could see that's a lot of rain, up to 2 feet of rain in some spots as this storm slowly. This is 8 p.m. tomorrow, so just kind of this moisture moving to the north very, very slowly over the next 24 to 36 hours or so. But rainmaker over Texas right now, that's Imelda. Of course, we just talked about Jerry. There's the look at the rainfall totals. You can see just kind of the blob of rain. This is a generalized amount of maybe up to 5-6 inches or so, but then again, those localized amounts of up to 2 feet. That's quite a bit of rainfall there. And lastly, Hurricane Humberto, way out at sea right now, is affecting Bermuda at this time. In fact, those hurricane force winds, that 70 mile per hour or 74 mile per hour or greater winds, those extend out 105 miles from the center of the storm. That's a long ways there, but so Bermuda is being impacted by this storm. Obviously, a Category 3 major hurricane here, wind speeds at 120 miles per hour and moving quickly at that, moving east-northeast at 16 miles per hour. And we're only going to see it pick up in forward speed as we go throughout the next 24 to 36 hours because it's going to be kind of swept away by a cold front or a trough, if you will. So this storm going to continue to pass by Bermuda. Bermuda will be affected by this storm. It is already being affected, but it's going to slowly weaken here as we get through the next couple of days and pick up speed, and then it'll be a fish storm over the next few days. But what else are we watching out there? Karen and Lorenzo, those are our next 2 names. Nothing named right now, but the next areas of development right now, sitting one area tropical wave, this little X right here, that's where the convection is, but it doesn't really have a chance of developing until it makes its way towards the Lesser Antilles here, and at that, it still only has a 30% chance of developing. Another wave that really hasn't even come off the coast of Africa yet, that also has a very, very low chance of developing right now. But when we see our next named storm, whether it be these 2 areas of tropical waves or not, Karen and Lorenzo, those are our next 2 names on the list. We've kind of went through them, Ian and JB, quickly here over the past couple of weeks since Dorian. That was the D name, and now we're already talking about maybe Karen and maybe Lorenzo over the next couple of weeks. It's a lot of names to get through, a lot of things to track here in the tropics.
Yeah, and of course we have it all here for us here on Track in the Tropics. Hey there, everybody. JB Buno here with you live, and a thank you to Amanda Holly. Amanda will be joining us here again in just a moment or two as we continue to monitor Tropical Storm Jerry. In the middle of your screen here, Storm Team 8 meteorologist Ian Oliver joining us here from WFLA in Tampa, Florida. And then rounding out our trio of Florida meteorologists, it's WMBB's Sam Lucy from the Panhandle, from Panama City Beach there in Florida on the, of course, to our northwest here from Tampa. But guys, we're talking about Tropical Storm Jerry. Ian, let's start with you. We're keeping a close eye on this one.
Yeah, we're talking about all this activity that we're tracking in the tropics. Keep in mind, we're just a little bit better than a week now beyond the statistical peak of tropical season. So it is kind of alarming. We show you that broad picture, and you see several areas that we're watching. You've been around, you live in a tropical environment, at least in the summertime like we do. You know this is the most active time of the year, and that's exactly what we're tracking. Specifically with Jerry, the signs are good at this point. We're still talking about a storm that's about 850 miles off to the east of the Leeward Islands, but the trends as far as what we're seeing with the forecast models, we talked a little bit about this yesterday, they're really good as far as this system recurving. Now, it's too early to say if we could see any direct or indirect impacts in the Leeward Islands. Long range, the forecast models are in a very good consensus at this point, having a recurve long before the Bahamas or the southeastern United States. Now, because we're talking about a week out, that can change, and we'll continue to track it very closely. But at least in the short term, things are looking very good, wouldn't you say, Sam, with the extended outlook for what is now just a small tropical storm in Jerry?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the forecast model is very tightly packed. So normally that means that's a very telltale sign that that's kind of where that's going to head. Even Imelda over in Texas, pretty sure to move to the north very quickly. Obviously, no impacts for the Panhandle either, as well as the peninsula. And you know, we're just really monitoring the rest of the tropics. Like you said, we're just past the peak of hurricane season. Still have plenty of time left, and we are still continuing to see those waves come off the African coast. Even the forecast models still hinting at more of those coming over the next couple of weeks. So it seems like it might be a little bit more active too as we kind of round out the month of September and start October.
Guys, being joined again here by meteorologist Amanda Holly as well, joining us, rounding out our team here in the Stream Center. Actually, we just lost Sam. Let's bring Sam back in there. Okay, now we're all here, everybody. Amanda Holly, Ian Oliver, I'm JB Buno, being joined by WMBB's Sam Lucy here. Guys, as we look here at Humberto, thank goodness that Humberto wasn't a more significant factor for us here in Florida. But Amanda, this is the peak of hurricane season. We're now monitoring really 5 systems right now between the 3 named ones, Jerry, Imelda, Humberto, and then those 2 waves that you ended out your forecast with too. We're keeping an eye on all of it here.
You have to keep an eye on pretty much everywhere. Gulf of Mexico, obviously, with Imelda out there, as well as the Atlantic basin. We're still watching tropical waves come off the coast of Africa. That's just this time of year, right, Ian?
Yeah. While we have Humberto on the screen, I want to talk real quick just about kind of the last threats here to land. This is a system we've been tracking, feels like forever when we're dealing with storms that are moving from the opposite side of the Antilles, the main development region. As early as tonight and early tomorrow, that's where we're talking about hurricane conditions expected for Bermuda. Good news with that is look at the motion of that system, east-northeast, 16 miles per hour. So yes, hurricane conditions are expected. It is looking like that inner core, the most intense part of Humberto, will pass just northwest and eventually north of Bermuda. But it is unfortunately going to be a bad night in Bermuda dealing with direct hurricane impacts from Humberto tonight and early tomorrow.
Yeah, and we were talking about those hurricane force winds extending out 105 miles from the center of the storm. So they're definitely seeing those hurricane force winds, maybe not the center of the storm going over them, but feeling impacts, as well as, you know, the Bahamas first felt the impacts from Humberto when it was first developing.
Right.
But we lucked out again in Florida.
Yeah, it's thank goodness. I mean, but Sam, I mean, as far as what you guys are tracking, I mean, of course, you guys were tracking Dorian. You guys have been tracking Humberto and Imelda. For you guys there on the Panhandle, it would be great if we just got through the rest of hurricane season without seeing any significant storms roll through the Panhandle, of course, with what Michael did to you guys last year, right?
Right, absolutely. I mean, not only this year, but the next couple years is a lot of people still recovering from that, and also still really just fresh in their minds. We've been talking about some of the mental impacts and stuff that Hurricane Michael left, and even that they're talking about Hurricane Dorian left in the Bahamas too. So if we could definitely get through the next several weeks without any storms entering the Gulf, I think that we would have a pretty good end to our 2019 hurricane season then.
Yeah, guys, and talking just a little bit about what the National Hurricane Center is going through this time of year. This is pretty. I would imagine, guys, this is pretty normal for September. How would you categorize, Ian, this September so far as the statistical peak of hurricane season?
Yeah, we're just beyond that at this point. We're relatively on track as far as what the forecast was, slightly above the averages. Of course, shout out to those folks at the National Hurricane Center, because even if it's expected, this is an extremely taxing time. When it flew with the hurricane hunters a couple weeks ago, that was their, I believe, 13th day in a row flying missions in. So these
that
are
was 2 weeks ago.
Yes, and they're on 8-hour flights, 12-hour shifts. So this is a very intense part of the year, them providing a great service for us. You made that excellent point about Humberto with the broad wind field. Tropical storm force winds almost 200 miles extending out from the center of circulation. Hurricane force winds over 100 miles. Should point out with Jerry, of course, it's a storm in its infancy, but the tropical storm force winds with that only extend out 45 miles from the center of circulation. It's a tiny storm, and it's got some factors going for it, and it's got some factors against it in the long term. You do see with their long-term forecast track, we're only talking about a high-end tropical storm, low-end Category 1. That can change, of course. Next couple days, warm water, low shear. But that is a little bit of a difference from what we were talking about yesterday, JB. Longer term now, the forecast models are putting a little bit of extra wind shear on that, which will make it more difficult for that system to maintain or even further intensify. So some good news there. Some other changes from yesterday too. We did see in the global models a pretty good consensus with the recurve yesterday. Some of the higher resolution forecast models, like the HWRF, the hurricane models, had a track farther to the south. So I saw that. That gave me a little pause. Today, those higher resolution models are coming into consensus with the global models much farther north, showing that same early recurve. These are the kind of trends that we're looking for. When we're talking about a storm that's way out in the Atlantic, you can't really speak in certainty. You're looking for trends, and right now the trends are very good.
And it's crazy to think that this weakness in the ridge has been beneficial for Florida in terms of all the storms that we've been tracking, because Humberto, there was a weakness in the ridge. That's what curved it out to sea, and we're going to see another weakness in that ridge. That Bermuda high is what we're talking about here. There's a weakness on the western side of it, which allows it to curve before it reaches the United States.
Sam, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that it's definitely been beneficial for us, and it seems that that ridge is even backing off a little bit further over the next, say, week or so, and that would keep those storms well off to our east, which would, keep us pretty high and dry, at least here in the Panhandle, and hopefully the rest of the Florida Peninsula too, because you guys have dealt with a lot of rain so far just this summer, and at least compared to us, and a lot of that has to do with a lot of the tropical moisture that's been moving into the area. So as long as that ridge stays backing off to our east, that should really help us out here too.
Yeah, everybody, we're going to be monitoring it all right here on Tracking the Tropics, and we appreciate you being with us here for our regular Wednesday edition. Again, we stream 1:30 Eastern, 12:30 Central every Wednesday, but when we have a really active Tropics, we do special editions. And Amanda, I think I speak for Ian and the rest of our team. I think that we've been doing a lot of special editions the last 3 or 4 weeks. It's been more special editions than regular editions, but we're going to be continuing to monitor the tropics here, everybody. And if we have more named storms or anything that's of particular interest to us here in the southeastern United States, we'll be streaming more prevalently here on this app, this website, or this social media platform. So, going around clockwise for Storm Team 8 meteorologists Amanda Holly, Ian Oliver, I'm JB Buno here in the WFLA Now Stream Center. We want to thank, Sam, thanks for your first appearance here on Tracking the Tropics.
Yes, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Again, be sure to follow Sam. She's a meteorologist there for WMBB in Panama City, Florida. Everybody up there to our northwest on the Panhandle. Be sure to follow her over there. And we're going to get going here for this edition of Tracking the Tropics, but we'll have more coverage to come and more on this app and this website as we monitor all of these systems, in particular Jerry, right here at the center of your screen. Everybody have a good one. We'll see you soon. Take care.
Thank you for watching Tracking the Tropics.